I was 8 the first time I broke a bone. The pain was so intense, I nearly threw my lunch up. Mom said the doc's office was closed for the evening, so she splinted my arm up and gave me 3 Tylenol. Told me we'd have to wait until the morning. By the time I woke up, the pain was gone. My disfigured arm had magically repaired itself. Mom didn't know what to think of it, so she called it a blessing from God, and we never spoke of it again. 3 years later, Mom and I got into a bad wreck. She died instantly on impact, but I managed to wake up in a hospital bed with nothing more than some bruises and some bad wounds. The doc said I should have died too, that it was a miracle I was still walking. When I turned 40, I noticed I was aging much slower than my friends. Their faces started wrinkling, and their hairs began turning gray. Meanwhile, I didn't look a day over 25. I think around 50 was when I stopped aging. It's been 70 years since, and I haven't looked a single day older. My body and brain still work fine, and I've outlived everyone I've ever cared about. In 2072, the world started going to shit. Countries got so overpopulated, and resources became sparse. Riots and looting became the regular. It was every man for himself. I've spent so much time watching the world burn. The worst thing about being immortal is that you have to see yourself turn into someone you don't recognize. You have to live with the fact that you've become a monster. I can't die, but I need resources as much as the other folks who are still around. I still feel hunger pains. I still feel the bone-chilling cold of a winter night without heat. I've had to do unspeakable things so that I don't have to live in misery. I've cheated, attacked, and killed all kinds of folks just to get some dinner. I've stolen from starving children and pregnant women so that I might find some warmth for the night. I tell myself they're all going to die anyway. I want it to be over, but I'm stuck here until the world ends. Even then, will I live through that too? So now, every few days, I go out on the hunt and do whatever it takes to get my hands on a couple bullets. I take my shotgun and shove it up my mouth. I pull the trigger and feel my brain explode into tiny little pieces. Sometimes I wake up the next morning. Sometimes, if I'm lucky, I'll hit the right spot and get to wake up a few days later. Then I do it all over again. It's the only thing I have to live for, because it's the closest I'll ever get to death. Cheating death is easy. People do it unconsciously all the time. A stranger at a bar told me the secret. Exactly a week from now, he drawled, you're scheduled to meet death, so you better change up your appearance to avoid him. Seeing my puzzled look, he continued, Death, the old Burke, is like a Walmart shopper with a shopping list. When he can't find a specific product on the shelf, he'll take the next best thing. You get me? I don't remember what the stranger looked like, and dismissed his words as drunken ramblings. Yet, before 1 week passed, I decided to get a makeover, just for the hell of it. I had my hair cut shorter and dyed a bright pink, dressed differently, and even wore thicker makeup. Exactly 1 week after I met the stranger, my twin sister died in a car crash. When it happened, I was in denial and told myself that it was merely a coincidence. But the stranger's words continued to linger in my mind. After some time passed, I dressed differently again and wore glasses and a dark wig as I went about my days. Soon after, I saw a news flash about a woman who was killed in a homicide. Only a single photo of her was shown. She had a pink bob cut. Death is persistent. Since then, I always made sure that I looked like a different person every once in a while, even undergoing some cosmetic procedures. By fate or something else, news of deaths of women who looked similar to how I did before each big change always came to me. I felt guilty, but didn't want to die. I became obsessed with the idea of cheating death. By the time I reached my 60s, I stopped hearing news of the deaths of women who looked like I had. It was also during this time that I felt fulfilled with my life and decided that I wouldn't mind dying. I stopped changing my appearance, but death never came. I guess death had given up. When the Walmart shopper never finds the exact product on his shopping list after coming back many times, he figures that its production has been cut off and gives up searching. This wasn't an issue for me until I grew old, and my body limited me to lying down until the fabrics of an old nursing home bed rubbed against my open sores. When my heart stopped beating and my lungs stopped breathing, I expected relief. But I was met with an empty void. I could see, hear, and feel nothing, left to only my thoughts. I could only hope that death hadn't completely forgotten me. I met Death today. He was standing under a canopy, back away from the rainy streets, watching the various people and cars go about their business. He didn't look anything like what most people imagine him to. There was no long black robe. He didn't hold a sharp, gleaming scythe in his hand, but a plain, unassuming umbrella. He had perfectly normal skin, and while he may have been a little paler than most, he certainly wasn't all bone. Really, the only reason I could even tell was his eyes. His eyes were a muddy brown, but there was a blankness about them, almost like someone had drawn them on and forgot to do the shading. And they were staring at me. "It's rather dreary today, is it not?" he said, turning his blank eyes from me and looking past the canopy at the gray sky. I guess it is, yeah. I've never liked working on days like this. It adds far too much melodrama. I shivered. Are you... I couldn't bring myself to ask the rest of the question. It all seemed too surreal. Yes, I am. I know I'm not what most expect. One of my predecessors had quite a sense of grandiosity, and subsequently built up quite the image. I prefer a much more subtle approach to the job. Predecessors? Oh my, yes, he chuckled. Certain souls are meant to carry the rest on to their final places. Born to live amongst the commonality, to love them, to hate them, to empathize with them, and at the end, to fulfill their duty to usher them onward. Can I ask how long you've been, ushering? Oh, quite some time. I began my afterlife in 1892. I have seen every soul of the world since that time. I have heard the stories of the rich, the poor, the righteous, and the damned. Does it ever get boring? Gracious, no. The world is filled with such a variety of souls. I'm always amazed at just how they spend their lives. It is quite the perk of the job to be allowed to sit with each soul and hear the details of their lives. I felt a tear roll down my cheek. I suppose since you're talking to me, it's my turn to tell you my story? Unfortunately, not this time. I will be moving on soon, and your first shift starts even sooner. The car that would hit me started to hydroplane then. The driver, a janitor at the local hospital, had the steering wheel yanked from his hand. Honestly, I don't blame him for what happened. The roads were pretty slick. I wonder how he'll tell that part of his story at the end. I guess I'll find out eventually. I became deaf today. Janice sits across from her brother in a dark, dim-lit room by the window. She looks up at him as she wipes away tears, and he looks on, silent as he's always been throughout their entire childhood into adulthood. I don't know why you come now, Frank. You could have came on birthdays, anniversaries, Mom and Dad's funeral. Where were you? Off doing your own thing, as always. I had to take care of everything while you just... Wiping away her tears while her brother looks away unbothered. I have 2 kids now. They're really beautiful. Yeah, you were an uncle and didn't even know it. I really wish you could have got to know them. My son reminds me a lot of you, though. He's there for his sister, but still has that kind of smart-ass attitude. Frank looks down and smirks as Janice lights a cigarette and leans back in her chair and lets her next set of tears fall down her face while looking at her brother. It hasn't been easy lately, but I try. I'm divorced and raising these kids on my own. I'd ask you to help, but I already know what the answer would be, knowing you. That part of you, anyway. You would have liked them, and I'm sure they would have liked to know their uncle. Frank smirks, nodding his head as he looks out the window, seeing the sun just about to rise. Frank, I'm sorry. Sorry I didn't try hard enough, but maybe it wasn't me. And I'm just accepting all the blame, just to save yourself from even owning up to your own life's choices. Poor life choices. Frank leans forward, crossing his fingers into one another while looking at Janice. I can't do this every time, Frank. One day, this has got to stop, and you know that. I don't see why you just don't come back. This is harder on me than it is on you, Frank. I do my best, but maybe it's me who should be letting you go. Frank smiles, a real smile, and nods his head while leaning back in his own chair as he watches Janice stand up and extends her hand at Frank while sobbing. I can't come back anymore, Frank, 'cause I'm letting go. You understand, right? I have to move on, and so do you. Janice slowly begins to walk towards the charred black door frame and looks back at her brother sitting in the burned chair. Go home, Frank.
We'll see each other again. I promise. Take care. Watching Frank stand up and walk towards the window as the sun begins to rise and the beams of light shine through his translucent body. Frank looks back at his sister one last time as Janice wipes away the last of her tears and watches her brother fade one last time. Goodbye, Frank. Janice slowly closes the door before peering one last time into the room where her brother died in a deliberate house fire he had set 10 years ago. She wonders still as to why he did what he did. Doesn't know the reason or if it was an accident. All Janice knows is that Frank is now at rest after all the years she would come to visit him on his death anniversary and talk to his spirit in the very same spot. She let him go and freed herself from her guilt that was never hers in the first place.
It's been 6 months since we all heard rumors of a strange sickness starting in Central Asia. 5 months since the United States closed its borders and airspace. 4 months since we heard of a disease spreading onto American soil. 3 months since I was told not to return to work. 2 months since I woke up in my bed next to my wife. 1 month since we started traveling with a small group. 3 weeks since I had to put down my best friend. 2 weeks since my group found a small gated community. 1 week since we decided to stay behind the gate. 6 days left to live. 5 days since the attack on the community. 4 days since my wife was shot in the stomach. 3 days since we tried to help her. 2 days since she died. 1 day since she returned. 12 hours since she bit me in the leg. 12 hours since I had to put down my wife and end her new life. 12 hours left to live mine. 11 hours since the swelling started. 10 hours since my legs went numb. 9 hours since the fever started. 8 hours since my last meal. 7 hours since my first seizure. 6 hours since I begged them to kill me. 5 hours since the group left me. 4 hours since my body went cold. 3 hours since my vision went dark. 2 hours since I woke up. 1 hour since I stumbled out of the house.
I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm hungry.
I'm slow. They are fast. Not fast enough. They taste warm. They taste raw. They taste good. They hurt me. They break me. They can't stop me. Every step is closer to them. Every step is closer to food. I find more family. I find friends. We walk as one. We find food. Our family grows. I am hungry.